Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online roll video with me, Sherman. Today guys, we're going to be taking a look at the tank roll for the Dark Paladin and how it works as a tank. So be prepared, because this character is going to show you some crazy stuff. Alright, so before we get into it, you can be any race with this if you so choose. You just need to manipulate your stats to mimic what this does and it'll work fine. And let's get started. So this is the Dark Paladin character design. It is Dark Elf Necromancer, and it is set for tank right now. So you can see we have 23k magicka, 34k health, 24k stamina, and if you feel like you need more health, you can always take the 10 stamina and 10 magic out and put it all into health, so that way you can focus more into health, so you have more of that for survivability and stuff. You can see our magic recovery is coming in at 931, health recovery is coming in at 410, stamina recovery is coming in at 568. Now, because we are using heavy armor, we have to focus our resource management a little bit different than you do in light armor and medium armor. So, just clarifying that. Spell damage is 2790, weapon damage is 2379. We have a low crit, spell crit and weapon crit, that's fine. We're tanks. We're tanking right now, we don't need a high crit. We just need enough to get by. Our spell resistance is coming in at 21925. Physical resistance is 21771. As you can see, we are using the Lady Mundustone to boost our resistances. We have primary all-stat food, as you guys can see over here too as well. We have tri-stat food. This is going to give us the best well-rounded pools that we can get in the game, because it gives us all three stats. We are using, with the tank roll, you're going to want to use the tripods. This is going to be the best option for you, because you are going to be using both magicka and stamina at the same time, and having that good combination really allows you to kind of flex your character's ability to play the role. Alright, going over the gear sets, I'm going to go over this really fast. We are running the first two-piece set we're running is Thorvikins. Thorvikins is a really good set for tanks or healers or damage dealers. It really doesn't matter. It's up to you. Gives you 1 piece max health, 2 piece. When you take damage from nearby enemies, you summon a growing pool of desecrated bile for 8 seconds. Enemies in the bile take 554 disease damage every second and are afflicted with minor maim and minor defile for 4 seconds, reducing their damage done by 15% and healing received and health recovery by 15%. This effect can occur every 8 seconds. Alright, moving on to the next set. The next set we are using is Hunting's Rage. We are doing this because this is going to give us the ability to do some damage. Not a lot, because we are a tank, but you'll get it later. It just allows us to carry some extra damage with us if we need it, so we can get through things a little bit easier. The next set we're using is Rattle Cage. This is where we get all of our spell damage and our max health. This is going to allow us to maximize our spell damage, so any heals we use, any abilities we use that are spell related, we can take advantage of. The same thing with Hunting's Rage. It's going to allow us to take advantage of more of the melee type combat. And on our traits, we are running 3 Invigorating. You don't have to run 3 Invigorating. If you feel Infused would be better or something else would be better, then please use it. This is just showing you a suggestion of what you can do. The reason I chose this is because, yes, it does give you 33 recovery only, but that 33 recovery does add up, especially when you add in all the percentage bonuses that you get, and the other way you have your character set up, you can take advantage of that 33%. It's a small advantage, but it's enough to kind of give you a kick. Alright, moving on to the other traits. We have Sturdy on the smaller pieces. This is going to increase our block capabilities. Even as a tank, that's one of the most important things, is you block damage to help mitigate, but you don't block all the time. Okay, you have to learn the mechanics of an encounter and learn when to block. If you can do that, you successfully tank, you should have no problems with resource management, and you should have no problems with playing the character in an appropriate way. Alright, going on to the jewelry traits. We have 1 Trirune on this ring, 1 on this ring, and then we have an infused on the necklace. This way we have a good multi-purpose stat tool here that balances out our character's stats to health, magic, and stamina. And over here we have the infused, so we can take advantage of our magic recovery. Alright, going on to the enchants we're using, we have 3 tri-stats on the big pieces, 1 on the shield as well, and this is going to give us the a greater resource pool for magicka, stamina, and health. This is how we can actually manipulate playing this character as all 3 roles, a tank, a healer, and damage dealer, both magicka and stamina, if we so choose. Alright, so moving on now. We are using, on the smaller pieces, the belt and the shoulders, we have max magicka enchants. On the gloves and the boots, we have max stamina enchants. This is just so we can widen our pool of resources, both magicka and stamina. Moving on down to the weapon itself, or the jewelry, we have a weapon damage enchant and a spell damage enchant. Now, the reason I chose these is just for my own personal playstyle. You can put whatever you want here. If you want more stamina recovery, you want more magic recovery, you even want health recovery, you can put that there, or you can use whatever enchants fit your playstyle for that build, because you still get a lot of weapon damage from this set, and you get a lot of spell damage from this set, so it doesn't matter either way you go. Moving on to weapons, our weapon, our main hand is using a disease enchant. This is just to help fortify our ability to do damage. We are using a Nerco one-handed weapon. This not only boosts our damage, it also boosts our ability to use certain skills and take advantage of those skills by boosting our weapon damage and our spell damage. On the back bar, we are using an ice staff infused with a crusher enchant. This is going to be one of the more effective tools that you can use back here. Enchants, though, again, comes down to personal preference. A lot of people like tanks that run crusher enchants because the tank can debuff the enemy more effectively than most people, because their job is to tank, not push their DPS as high as possible. But utilizing the tools that your character has you can take advantage of it, and crusher is definitely one of them that you can take advantage of as a tank. So sorry, I didn't mean to cough. Alright, that's the gear. Now let's move on to the skills. First thing I'm going to tell you is make sure you unlock all your class passes. It's very important you do this, because you never know how you're going to set your skills for each encounter. So for every dungeon that you play through, you might want to change your skill set to fit your group better and to fit your dynamic of your group better. So always make sure you unlock all your class passives and unlock the skills that you want to use. Moving on, with this primarily, we're using sword and shield and destruction staff, so those are going to be the things you're going to want to focus on when you're leveling as this character. You're going to want to focus on sword and shield and destruction staff first, if you want to play a tank with this first, okay? Because you have to focus into one really area mostly as you play the game, so it's better to focus into a certain role. So focusing this into a tank, if you want, this is what I would suggest. And I would unlock every skill possible and passive, because then you have access to more tools when your group needs them. Because you never know what kind of group you're going to be in because of pugging and all kinds of stuff like that. So having tools that allow you to take advantage of your group dynamic really helps. Alright, moving on to the armor. Light armor, you just want the top 3. This is going to give you a little bit of snare removal, sprint cost reduction. This is going to give you some mag recovery, which is really good, and reduce magicka cost. We are a necro, so we're not like a Templar where we get the 4% stamina and magicka reduced cost and ultimate cost. So this is we're going to actually take advantage of that 2%. It's small, but every percentage counts. Moving on. Increase your spell resistance by 363 for each piece of light armor equipped. This is also really important because we do wear one piece of light armor, and that can reflect our resistances in heavy armor really well, even in medium and light. Medium armor passives. We take dexterity to increase our weapon critical by a small amount. It's just a smaller amount, but it's enough to help us increase our DPS. Windwalker. increases our stamina recovery, and it also reduces our stamina cost by 2%. And then athletics, this one increases your movement speed bonus of sprint by 3% for each piece of medium armor, and it also reduces your roll dodge cost by 4%. This saves you resources, and when you use the CP in conjunction with this, you can get a lot out of it. Moving on to heavy armor. All heavy armor passives. Also, try to unlock the skill, the active ability, because you never know, like, if you're going to need more of a stamina reflection on your character or a magicus reflection. This just allows you to kind of be more flexible with your character. World skills, soul magic. I love soul summons and soul lock because I take advantage of these. Fighters Guild. Because of the way this build works, you're going to want to unlock the Fighters Guild and all the tools on it for later purposes, not just tanking. Mages Guild, same thing. Sigic Order, same thing if you want to, but mostly you just want the passives, and you can learn the skills you want to use from it. Undaunted, I do the same thing as you can see here. I learn all the synergies and stuff. The reason I learn all the different synergies is because you never know when you need one. And if your group's lacking synergies, this is a great place to get synergies so you have them for your group. Moving on, Alliance, Assault. Unlock the skills the way you want here. There's only 3 skills that really work good in PvE, and that's Sturdy Warhorn, Vigor, and Caltrops. These work the best in PvE. Rapid Maneuvers is okay if you want to get around faster in PvE. If you're doing like overland stuff, that's fine. You can use this. Magic Detonation is okay in PvE, but it works better in PvP. And then moving on to support, same thing. I picked the ones that I feel are going to work best in PvE. So, Replenishing Barrier, Efficient Purge, Mystic Guard, and of course Magic Aid. Anytime you have one of these skills slotted, you can get 10% magic recovery. Moving on to the racials. Make sure you unlock all your racials. Like I said, I'm a Dark Elf. The reason I chose Dark Elf for this is Dark Elf is really flexible at playing Magicka Stamina really well because it's built that way, the race is, and you can take advantage of that. Moving on to crafting, alchemy, medicinal use, provisioning, gourmand, and connoisseur. Alright, so now that you guys have seen that, I'm going to show you the skills I prefer to use on my bar when I'm tanking. And these are just suggestions. So the first skill we have on our bar is Pierce Armor. This is going to give us the ability to taunt the enemies, apply Major Breach and Major Fracture. It does do a decent amount of damage in the right build. And it's pretty nice. The next one we have is Deep Slash. The reason I'm not using Heroic Slash is because I have an ability that allows me to do get more ultimate if I want to use it. So I use that instead of Heroic Slash. I'm not super concerned about the ultimate gen of my character, even though I am a tank. I'm going to be doing a lot of heavy attacks, light attacks, abilities, so I'm going to earn ultimate just like everybody else. But I like Deep Slash because it allows you to apply Minor Maim on more targets than just one, and it also gives you that movement speed reduction on more targets than just one. It does a really good amount of damage, especially when you have the right setup. And it also applies Minor Maim. Next ability we have is Spike Bone Shield. Now, the reason I chose Spike Bone Shield is a lot of tanks need extra survivability tools, sometimes for certain encounters. This is a great tool for it, and it's also a synergy. So you can use it for both aspects. So you gain a shield that absorbs 34% of your max health for 6 seconds and returns 41% of the direct damage absorbed back to the enemy. So not only do you take damage, or allow you to absorb damage, it also allows you to redirect direct damage back to the enemy, which helps kill them faster. Even if it's just a little bit of damage, it still helps kill them faster. And an ally can activate the Bone Wall synergy, granting an ally and up to 3 other friendly targets near them a damage shield that absorbs 58% of their max health. It's a very powerful synergy. The next ability we have here is Ruinous Scythe. Now we have this here because it does do damage. It is a AoE. It does a cone attack in front of you. Sorry, allergies. But it does do a cone attack in front of you, and then every third cast of this ability will set enemies off balance. So this is going to not only help your group with greater DPS and resource management because of the off balance. But the final part is you heal for 4,210 health for the first enemy hit, and an additional 1,403 for each additional enemy, up to 5 times. The healing of this ability scales off your max health. So it works really good on a tank type person as a damage ability and a self-heal. Next ability we have is Absorb Magic. We have this here to help with our reduced block costs and increase our ability to block damage. Because we don't use all sturdy gear or block cost enchants, this is going to help us save resources for blocking. And it also gives us a pretty decent shield. Next ability we have is Ravenous Goliath. I like Ravenous Goliath on the Necromancer because it has such a really cool like effect to it, and we'll get to that. But become a horrific Ravenous Goliath, increasing your max health by 30,000 for 20 seconds, and increasing and restoring 30,000 health. This just basically gives you really good survivability. Like if you're getting beat on really bad in a boss encounter or in a dungeon, or even in Overland, this you can just pop it, and it's going to boost you up with a lot of health. It's going to be harder for them to kill you, which is good. That's your job. And then Wild Transform, your light attacks restore health, and your fully charged heavy attacks restore health. You deal 1825 damage, or X amount of damage based on your max health, but we'll get to that, to nearby enemies every second, and heal for that amount. These abilities scale off your max health. So that's why I like this one, is it scales off your max health, the damage and the healing, and it can really help you in that dire situation of staying alive. I call it my oh crap button. The next bar we have our Ice Staff. On the Ice Staff bar we have Crushing Shock. We have this here for an interrupt. If there's an enemy at range and we need to interrupt them if they're casting an ability, we can use this for that. It also does a decent amount of damage, and it sets the enemies, when they're interrupted, off balance and stuns them for 3 seconds. So it's got a really good utility to it that can be great for a tank. Or anyone, really. The next ability we have is Blockade of Frost. This is just for the CC, mostly, because you can set this down in front of you, and it'll slow the movement of any enemy that walks into it by 40%. It also does a decent amount of ticking damage over time, and any enemy that's in it that becomes chilled by the effect of the frozen wall will also become immobilized for 4 seconds. So another great CC ability for you to control the movement of the enemies as a tank. Next ability we have on our bar is the Spiritual Guardian. This one, conjure a ghostly spirit to do your bidding and stay by your side for 16 seconds. The spirit heals you or the lowest health ally around you every 2 seconds, restoring 1554 health. While active, 10% of the damage you take is transferred to the spirit instead. This creates a corpse on death. Now, the nice thing about this spirit is, like it says, it'll heal you or an ally. And since your spell damage is pretty high, and you have that stuff there, you know, with the 12, you have 2550 here and 2790 here. When you have Olorim on you, you go to almost 3k spell damage, and that 3k applies to your heals. So it makes that ghost spirit work really good. Alright, next ability we have is Agony Totem. Now we have this here because of group utility, okay? Summon a bone effigy, or an effigy of bone at your feet that gives minor protection to you and your allies for 9.5 seconds, reducing damage taken by 8%. After 2 seconds, the totem instills fear on enemies, holding them in place for 4 seconds. Another great CC ability for you to use. Remember, not only do you have a CC on your sword and shield with Deep Slash, where you can reduce movement speed by 60%, you have Crushing Shock, you have Ice Wall, and you have this. So this just allows you to control the movement of enemies really well. And the more enemies you can keep right on you, the more effective you are at holding them in place to where they can't move. And this way you can AoE them down, or your group can AoE them down faster. And you can help them with your Wall of Ice, your Agony Totem, and your other stuff. So allies can activate Pure Agony, the synergy from this, causing enemies to take 7,242 magic damage over 5 seconds, and applying minor vulnerability to them for the duration, increasing their damage taken by 8%. It's a really good synergy. It's a really great group tool, But this is not just the only synergy you have, because you also have the bone shield synergy that if you want to use it, you can. So, moving on, next ability we have here is our Beckoning Armor. Now, Beckoning Armor is actually really cool. When you wrap yourself in hardened bones, granting major resolve, major ward, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 5,280 for 20 seconds. While active, enemies that strike you with a ranged attack will be pulled toward you once every 3 seconds. This creates a corpse on when the effect completes. So you got a lot of ways of creating corpses for you if you're using other abilities that can take advantage of corpses. So you have those tools there. On top of that, you have a lot of tools that give you a lot of other group utility. Alright, moving on to the final skill we have on our bar. And you can use either version of this. I like this one because I love the way it helps supports the group. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, but the other one would be better. It is, but I just want to show you this option. So this is Sturdy Warhorn. Now the reason I like Sturdy Warhorn is it still gives the max magicka, max stamina by 10% for 39 seconds. But it also gives minor ward and minor resolve, increasing spell and physical resistance by 1320 for 39 seconds. This is a really great way for you to help your group boost their resistances by a little bit. It works just like Combat Prayer does, except it lasts longer. And you don't have to fire it off all the time. You don't have to fire it off every 8 seconds. You can just fire it off for 39, almost 40 seconds, and leave it. When this comes back up, fire it again. Fire it again. Fire it again, because this is the one skill you will use the most. You'll use Bone Goliath if it's dire situations, like your party's about to wipe. And that way you can go around and pick people up. So that's it for the skills. Now let's go ahead and move on to the CP. And remember, there's a reason why I unlock a lot of different skills with this class. Why I did that is so if I need these abilities for any purposes whatsoever. My group's lacking in DPS because they can't do enough DPS themselves. I can always grab Unnerving Boneyard and use this to apply Major Breach and Major Fracture to more targets for my group. If I'm lacking something that I need for not only playing a tank, but also playing an overland, I have all these tools that I have unlocked that I can take advantage of. So that's why I unlocked a lot of abilities. Now it takes a long time to do this with a character. That's why I suggest picking certain skills on your bar. These are the ones you're going to use the most when you play a tank role. When you're playing a healer role, you're going to use different abilities. When you're playing a damage dealer role, you're going to use different abilities. So unlocking as many abilities as you have access to makes you a more effective character in every role. Alright, now moving on to this, the CP. The Red Tree. We have 66 in the Ironclad. This reduces damage taken from direct damage attacks by 22%. When tanking in heavy armor, you can take advantage of your CPs a little bit better because you have higher resistances. When you're tanking in light armor or medium armor, you can't take advantage of some of these as well as you would like to. So there's a lot of personal sacrifice you got to make to play your character more effectively in every role. Moving on, we have 31 into Thick Skin. This reduces the damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. We have 56 into Hardy. This reduces your damage taken from physical poison disease damage by 12%. And then we have 56 into Elemental Defender. This reduces your damage taken from Flame Frost, Shock, and Magic damage by 12%. Please understand this is a more well-rounded setup, but you can adjust these values if you need to. Moving on again, we have 40 into Bastion. This increases the effectiveness of your damage shields by 16%. We have 19 into Quick Recovery, increasing our healing received by 5%, and 2 into Heavy Armor Focus. Moving on to the Green Tree, we have 40 into Warlord. This reduces break free cost by 16%. We have 16 into Sprinter, reducing sprint cost by 10%. 16 into Bashing Focus, reducing our bash cost by 10%. And then we have 43 into Arcanist, increasing our mag recovery by 10%. And 75 into Tenacity, because we are using heavy armor. We want to take advantage of our resource return with heavy armor, and this is going to allow us to do that. So you want to put as much in here as possible. This will increase your magic and stamina return of your fully charged heavy attacks by 14%. Sorry. Again. Moving on, tumbling, we reduce the cost of our dodge roll by 16%. Remember, we're wearing that one piece of medium armor. We're going to take advantage of that 4% dodge roll reduction. We actually have a 20% dodge roll cost reduction. We have 40 in the Shadow Ward. This gives us a 16% block cost reduction, or reduces our block cost by 16%. We have 8%, and then we have 20% from our Sword and Shield. We actually have 50% from Sword and Shield and Sturdy. When you add in this 16 plus another 8, you actually go to 74%. So that's a really good amount of block cost reduction, and you can take advantage of it. Moving on, we have 43 into Bless. This increases our healing done by 10%. We have 23 into Elfborn. This increases our critical heals and critical damage done by 10%. We have 43 into Elemental Expert. This increases our flame, frost, shock, and magic damage by 10%. And moving on to the middle tree here, we have 19 into Physical Weapon Expert. This increases our light and heavy attacks with our sword and shield by 12%. And we have 16 into Staff Expert. This increases our light and heavy attacks with destruction staves by 10%. And then we have 40 into Master at Arms, increasing our direct damage done by 16%. Moving on over here, we have 43 into Mighty. This increases physical, poison, disease damage by 10%. We have 23 into physical or precise strikes. This increases our critical damage done with and critical healing done with stamina abilities by 10%. And then we have 20 into Thaumaturge. This increases our damage done with damage over time by 9%. Like I said, when you play a character that's well-rounded like this, you want to make sure that your stuff is spread out well-rounded so you can take advantage of every point of your character's ability to play. This way you can take advantage of your magic damage, your stamina damage. Even though it's just a small increase, it's enough to make a bigger difference in how the character can play. And you can adjust these for every role. Alright. And that is it for this, guys, for the tank. This is the Dark Paladin. But we're not done, because I am going to show you how it can work in a environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to transport my character to a dungeon. And just to show its effectiveness, I'm going to set it to Veteran. This is just going to give you an idea of how effective it can be. In the right hands, it's super effective. But you have to learn to play that good. So let's go ahead and take a jump. We're going to go to one of the new dungeons in the game. We're going to actually go to Frostvault, or Depths of Malatar, sorry. And we're just going to play through this to the first boss encounter. We'll probably die on the boss encounter because we don't have a group with us. And that's fine, but maybe we can get by it, maybe we can't. I don't know. It depends on how well I can play right now. So, but I really do like this character design. I think that it does allow for a lot of like diversity in the way you want to play, and it allows you to really like focus into that idea. Hey, I want to do this. You know, I want to play this way. So we're gonna run through here. And please remember, this is Veteran difficulty. The only reason why I'm doing it on Veteran is to show you like how much it can really stack up the damage absorption and its ability to do that kind of stuff. So, oops, I need food too. And you got to remember, when you're in here with a group, things are going to go flow a lot more smoothly, especially if you have a good group and people know how to play their characters. If you don't, then it can be a real hassle. And I'll probably just do this encounter just because, I mean, I can promise you, if you can take on these guys in veteran mode, you can probably take on this dungeon in veteran mode if you are a skilled enough player. But you really do have to learn how to play this way in order for it to work. Otherwise, you may as well just go play something else, because take advantage of that, knock Exploiter down, interrupt this guy, because I knew what he was doing when he was running away. And see, I interrupted her as she was doing the same ability. And that's the great thing about having the tools to do the things you need to do, is because then you can take advantage of them, and you can just annihilate these guys and keep them out of the way. And it's not just as a tank. You can do this as a damage dealer and everything else. You can take advantage of all those tools that your character has. So that is the tank, guys. I hope that it shows you guys like some of its ability to play. And like I said, in the right hands, anyone can play this build. Anyone. It's made to be versatile. So, but that's it for this build, guys. I hope you guys liked it. It is the tank roll for the Dark Paladin character build. And that's it for the video. You guys know what's coming next. If you like the video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.